We're continuing on our series called 2 by 2, where we discuss each card of the Major Arcana along with its partner card. As we've discussed, half of the Major Arcana lies on the Tree of Life. The other half lies on a almost identical tree, the Tree of Knowledge. By comparing the Sephira on one tree to the same Sephira on another, we get a combination of two cards, and it's designed to work this way so the meaning of these two cards is sort of put together and magnified a little bit. Today we're doing the card that's called Strength. This is a new way of looking at strength. When we look at it through the Kabbalistic eyes of the tarot, we're going to see that strength is a little bit different than is very often portrayed in media right now. We have suggested before, when we've looked at aspects of male and female, that there seems to be an imbalance, and there has been an imbalance for some time between male and female relationships. We understand that male and female are polarities, like the positive and negative poles of the battery. They work in conjunction to achieve a kind of synergy. Neither subdues the other. The positive terminal of the battery doesn't try to degrade or subdue the negative terminal. There's something in our society that's stressed, and we find sometimes some of our natural impulses at odds with each other. Today's strength, if we look at what is strength, ask children, tell me someone who's strong. Very often it will be seen as a very showy, a demonstrative, and often male figure. Today we're not going to be perpetuating that idea. We'll be looking at the tarot concept of strength. It's quite different. Tarot teaches that strength, true strength, complete strength, is invisible. And on top of that, it is contained in the feminine nature. As we've mentioned, today's card is Strength. This is the Strength card. We'll see that this is often misinterpreted as we go through the description. In this series, we've been discussing and studying the Major Arcana in related pairs. Each card on the Tree of Life has a partner card on the Tree of Knowledge. Together, these cards tell a story or they teach a lesson. As a bit of a recap, last week we saw the relationship between the Chariot and the Moon. The Chariot is the linking of wisdom, of intellect and imagination. Those are the beasts, his two sphinx that are linked together by that key, and that is the secret of his power. We also took a look at the other side of the Chariot, problems when thinking and feeling no longer work in harmony. We can see how the two cards brings nuances to the meaning of both cards individually. Today's card is Strength. In the tarot cards, we are taught about real strength. And that's what we're going to get to. This is strength unburdened by psychological feelings of inadequacy or worries about threats or needs about having to show yourself to be great. Real strength does not need to threaten, warn, or advertise. And we're going to see that again and again in our discussion of strength through the eyes of the tarot cards. Understanding complete strength. To understand what it's like to have complete strength, not burdened by inadequacies, is to have no doubt about the superiority of your strength. When that happens, a lot of behaviors disappear. We no longer need to blow our own horn to advertise ourselves. Revenge, cruelty, and swaggering are aspects of imbalance and insecurity, not power. I'll just say that again. Revenge, cruelty, and swaggering are aspects of imbalance or insecurity and not strength or power. The example of this, and once we see this, I think the meaning will come quite clear, is to imagine that you have complete strength and you are a kindergarten teacher. Imagine as this teacher, and you're a good kindergarten teacher, imagine a problem and you turning and threatening that 5-year-old student with physical violence. Imagine saying, "Don't do this or I will hurt you." I don't think that would be a good example of teaching, and it's kind of ridiculous. It shows an insecurity, an imbalance in the teacher, and no teacher would treat a young child like that. The teacher is totally secure of their strength, but at no time does he or she lord it over the students. If the kindergarten teacher is walking through the room and if a child bumps into them, they do not retaliate or make promises of violence. Of course they wouldn't. It would be the most ridiculous thing to imagine a kindergarten teacher getting bumped into and asking the student, do they want to take it outside? Do they want to fight? And yet, in our society, we see that kind of behavior all the times, and it's become linked with the idea of strength. Kabbalistically and through the tarot, that's not the way it's portrayed. True strength is a form of innocence, and that's one of the few things Waite has to say about this card, is that there is the aspect of innocence to it. The poet Blake has a large body of writing called The Songs of Innocence, in which he talks about shepherds and lambs and the idea of innocence. Amongst these is a poem called The Tiger, and it's hard to see amongst these songs of innocence, of pastoralism and gentleness and peace, that the tiger would enter. And it's the idea that the tiger, being totally aware of its own strength, has no need to advertise, to demonstrate, and it has no insecurity to overcome. The tiger isn't afraid of anything. The tiger isn't trying to get back at anyone. There is an innocence that is possible with strength. Today, strength is often contaminated by doubts. Strength that is doubted needs always to be proven and demonstrated. We see strength portrayed in movies and books as the power to destroy, and in fact, that is one of the aspects of strength, the power to destroy. The other would be the power to create or to protect. Strength is the ability to endure, to resist, to protect, and to create. Strength allows us to move in these directions. Strength is really the ability to resist destruction. So when people say, is strength the ability to create or to destroy, in a sense, strength is the ability to resist being destroyed. Let's start with the description of the strength card. Against a golden sky, a woman in a long white gown holds the head of a live lion. Her waist is belted with trailing vines of roses. Her crown sprouts living plants. Above her head, like the Magician, is the lazy 8 sign of infinity. And we remember this, the Magician, the number 1 card with that sign of infinity over his head. And we understand that as the Magician, the source of everything. And we see it again in this card, strength. Something that is enduring, goes on forever, will not stop. The lady and the lion stand on a lush green ground of grass and growth. In the distance, on the left, is a blue mountain. Kabbalistically, strength lies on the sephira called Hod. And as we look at the tree and we move down, we can see Hod. It's only a couple of steps from the bottom. This is Hod. Its essence is called splendor. When we look at the tarot, this place is reserved for strength. But it's strength as defined Kabbalistically through the tarot. It is not the Hollywood version of strength. Strength lies on Hod. Hod lies on the left-hand pillar, and that's the pillar of severity. It is also the female essence. It is the female pillar. And let's just recap what severity is. It's the left side, it's the female column, and it means cleanse or restrict or not allow. That's the side that she is on. There are some misconceptions about the card. Tarot cards are not tricky. They're not trying to fool us. Through their numbers and symbolic art, each card tries its best to make its meaning clear. But in describing the higher aspects of strength, some misconceptions may occur. Strength does not lie on the column of mercy. That's the other column. The Lady of Strength, she is severe. That's her column, severity. She is not cruel, but kindness, forgiveness, and welcoming all are simply not part of her nature. She is not cruel, but as we've just mentioned, you may not find her kind, welcoming, or forgiving. To understand what this card is about, there's a story. And it doesn't matter the accuracy of the story. It's an illustration to describe what on earth is this woman in a white gown doing holding the head of a lion. Is the lion a pet? Is she subduing it? Is she taming it? Is she caressing it? This card is really full of a lot of misconceptions, especially if you just approach it intuitively with no background knowledge. This looks like a card of kindness and gentleness, and that's not what this card is about. This is the story of what the Lady Strength is doing in the card. The Lady Strength guards a village. She is loved and not ever feared. She has no enemies. She feels no hate. She is not ever shackled by emotions. Around this village are many animals, cattle, chicken, distant gazelles. There used to be jackals nearby in the woods. Like coyotes, they do not fear the villagers' fire, and they prowl their roads and properties at night in search of easy prey. The jackals are no longer a problem anymore, because in recent years a mighty lion has settled nearby. Usually a lion is content to hunt outside the fences, but one day this lion ventured too close to the village. The Lady Strength does not care at all whether the lion lives or dies. When we see a picture like this, it would be improper to say that she has compassion for the lion. She doesn't. She's on the path of severity. She is not inclusive. She is restrictive. She doesn't care if the lion lives or dies. She could easily have crushed the lion's skull. Instead, she restrains the lion and he submits completely to her power. In this way, the lion keeps the jackals away and never again approaches the village. In fact, it runs away at the sight of a human. What the lady's strength did was tell the lion that her strength was great, greater than the lion's. The lion then hunts outside her domain and keeps the jackals away. Keeping the lion alive was a pragmatic decision. It was not an act of kindness. The other side of strength is the sun card. When we look at the tree of life, in the same place on the tree of knowledge is the sun card. Now together, we've got two cards that look so kind, so gentle. It's easy to imagine some of the traits of kindness being exemplified in these cards, but that's just a coincidence. Beneath a radiant sun, we're describing the sun card now. Beneath a radiant sun, a naked child rides a white horse. The child has no saddle or reins. She holds a flowing scarlet banner. Sunflowers bloom on a wall behind her. We see this meaning, the meaning of this card, echoing the card of strength. The meaning of this card is complete strength is an innocence. You don't have feelings of competitiveness and revenge and things like that. There's an innocence to the security of strength. She has no inclination to cruelty. She never advertises her strength. Returning to the strength card, there's another meaning to it. As we are presently studying the cards from the top of the Kabbalistic tree to the bottom. This is the path of creation. It's sort of God at the top and planet Earth at the bottom. And then there is a pathway through the different Sephirot. We can also study these cards from the bottom of the tree to the top, and this is the path of ascension or the fool's journeys, and we will do this later. The point of this is that the strength card on the fool's journey represents the first and fundamental teaching. It is the ability not to act in anger. This comes up again and again in the cards, and it may be one of the greatest lessons of the tarot cards, acting in anger. It won't work for you, and it is a sign of somebody who is still bound by their animal nature. They have not worked their way up to anything like a complete human nature yet. If anger regularly governs your actions, you're stuck at the animal level. The lady's strength can feel anger. Those feelings course through her, and with her strength, she would have those really justifiable anger feelings, those feelings of she deserves this kind of righteous indignation. She recognizes disrespect. She may not act on it, but she recognizes it, she feels it, she doesn't appreciate it. And at times she might even want retribution. She might feel those urges. But this is where she learns to keep her emotions controlled. And even that's not the right word. She's not controlling her emotions at all. We can't control our emotions. Our emotions are triggered by all kinds of things. We are not responsible for our emotions. We should never feel bad because we had this emotion. It's what we do with the emotions. And that's what the strength card represents. Do you have the strength to act on intellect when your emotion is screaming at you to act on anger. She may feel anger, but her actions are always dictated and controlled by her intellect. And we saw that in the Chariot. It was the linking of imagination and intellect that allowed the charioteer all his fine clothing and his transportation. This is a personal kind of strength. The lessons here allow the chariot his freedom, and the same it allows strength her innocence. Sometimes we call it strength of character. You might call it mastering your emotions. Anyone whose actions are controlled by their anger has not become strong. Their will is weak. There is not complete strength there. They are condemned to losing out in life because they will be defined by their negative emotions and their actions. Josh, why don't we turn to some of the questions?
Okay, so Sarah says hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Cobalt is asking, is the lady on the strength card strategic in taming the lion? Does she have an agenda?
Great question. And so often people think this is just a nice lady stroking a big kitty. And you're absolutely right. She has an agenda. She is strength. She's not doing this out of any kind of compassion, and her agenda is to have the lion work for her without intruding into what's hers. Great question, and I think it's really insightful.
Now, I think, have you answered it with how do you know if someone embodies strength? Is that slightly different?
It's slightly different. One of the clues is if a person has to tell you how strong they are, they're harboring these feelings of insecurity or whatever. True strength can rise above it. I find the analogy of the kindergarten teacher to always work for me. So would you see this kind of behavior in a good kindergarten teacher amongst her students? She is strength, but she doesn't brag about it, demonstrate it, warn, and threaten. It's in her, but it doesn't have to be portrayed.
Is the lady in the strength card cruel?
No. Cruelty might be seen as unjust, but her actions are not ever constrained by mercy. So we may get into the definition of the word here. You may see something she does and say that's cruel. It may just be she's not acting with compassion. She's actually doing it for a pragmatic way, as we discussed before with that question. She does not have an open door policy. She might appear as cruel because she has no mercy. That is not a part of her.
What does the white horse in the sun card represent?
Here we have this naked child on this unsaddled horse under the sun and sunflowers. And this talks about the sun, and this reflects the idea of strength. It's counterintuitive. This does not look like anything to do with strength, but in a way it is the ultimate proof of strength. Her essence is to create rather than destroy. And as we've seen in the High Priestess, death is essential to life. She does not, okay, I think that, does that answer it? I sort of stumbled near the end there.
Well,
okay, the horse?
Yeah,
okay.
Horse.
I see it as death's horse. This child riding around in this kind of paradise rides death's horse. The question, is she strong? Does she have strength? Yes. She doesn't advertise it, but maybe there are stories, maybe there are legends. She has the capacity to control and to take away life.
Are there times when anger is good?
I think if you're in a self-defense situation, being attacked by a rabid wolf, If you can get angry, it might give you lots of adrenaline and things like that. It might work against you too. But in general, taking actions based on raging anger will diminish you. They'll hurt you, limit you, and ultimately embarrass you. And we all learn these lessons. There are very few times in your life when you've succumbed to raging anger and acted on that has worked out very well for you. You might say, well, people were impressed. People really respected me. Your perception might not be accurate.
Is having strength like having a mighty weapon?
That's the way it's portrayed. Thor's hammer or anything like that. And that is not the Kabbalistic and the tarot representation of strength. We see strength as no need for that kind of demonstration. Rather than thinking of strength as a great weapon, think of it as a fine tool that allows you to adjust your environment. I think that's a better way to look at strength.
And it's like a double-edged sword. You have to be careful.
And you're right, and the whole suit of swords has that warning to it. Use your power, but it will hurt you a little bit every time. And that's it for the strength card. And we've linked it to the sun. And we'll see you next Wednesday. And I think we're moving down to the Sephiroth of Yesod, and we're talking about the Hermit. Have a great day. Bye for now.